Yo, Annie, wanna eat out? Sure, what are you thinking? Brigantine? Red Lobster? Olive Garden? I was thinking of a place by Proxima Centauri. You read my mind. Shucks, I don't have a spacecraft capable of FTL travel, though. You know I work for the government, right, Derek? Brothers, we've all been there, haven't we? You want to take a significant other to a nice restaurant, but the restaurant you're planning to take her to is more than 4.2 light years away. Aww, that is going to be a bit of a trip. But hang in there, I got you, bro. Our destination is Proxima Centauri. It's a red dwarf, and it's the closest star to Earth, aside from the Sun. Duh. It's approximately 4.2 light years away, meaning that it would take light about 4 years and 3 months to complete the trip. This distance is about 25 trillion miles. We'll assume the hypothetical aliens on the other side have prepared a giant net to catch us, as well as fuel to top up our ship for the return journey. So, where do we start? Of course, where all Hollywood movies go when they need their action heroes a ride to space. The space shuttle's top speed is orbital velocity, that being 17,000 miles per hour. At that rate, and with the help of Google's trusty calculator, it would take us 167,781 years to get there. That is not going to cut it. The fastest spacecraft that carried a living crew was the Apollo 10 Command Service Module. Its top speed on its dress rehearsal journey to the moon and back was 24,791 miles per hour. At that speed, it would take us 115,053 years to get to Proxima Centauri. That is not going to cut it. The fastest man-made object in history is the Parker Solar Probe. Its top speed on one of its repeated journeys around, and sometimes through, the sun, was a remarkably slow 430,000 miles per hour. To give an idea on how slow that is, at that speed, it would take the probe 49 seconds to go from London to LA. We'll let the engineers figure out how to slap seats on it. At that horrific snail's pace, it would still take us 6,633 years to get to Proxima Centauri. Getting better, but that's not going to cut it. Clearly, we need a breakthrough. Nothing too crazy, but something to make the trip a little faster. Fortunately, I have just the thing. From the years of 1958 to 1964, a bunch of goons were trying to develop a spacecraft they dubbed Project Orion. The idea was simple enough. You have a nuclear bomb, throw it behind you, and
here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's alright.
The idea was simple enough. You have a nuclear bomb and you stand behind a protective blast shield. You throw the bomb behind you and detonate it. The resulting vapor and gas would press against the blast shield and then move you forward. The engineers had dreams of using this method of nuclear pulse propulsion to power large starships, taking people to Mars, Saturn, and maybe the stars beyond. As mentioned before, the project was cancelled in 1964 due to the thawing Cold War resulting in bans on testing nuclear weapons, especially in the upper atmosphere. But, supposing we still managed to build one of these Orion drives and got it into space without it crashing, creating a brand new sun where it landed, it would have been powerful. If it accelerated at 1G for 10 days, an Orion spacecraft could reach a top speed of 22,130,348 miles per hour. That's 3% the speed of light. At that speed, the trip to Proxima Centauri would take a blinding 128 years. That's still not going to cut it. One of the most promising methods of interstellar travel is something called a solar sail. The gist is simple. Get a large sheet, and I mean large. For our purposes, I'm talking kilometers long in any direction, but make sure it's as light as a feather and even lighter, too. Then, just slap a chair on it and wait. And wait, and wait. What's happening here is the photons emitted by the sun will hit the solar sail, transferring its momentum to the craft. Over time, this momentum would build up to provide a noticeable amount of thrust. The kicker here is that all of this is practically for free. As long as the sun is burning, it's releasing photons that way onto the solar sail. And it's possible to help as well. A company called Breakthrough Initiatives hopes to launch a fleet of tiny solar sails to visit Proxima Centauri. They plan, shortly after launch and deployment, to use a set of ground-based lasers to literally shove these probes further away. They envision that the whole interstellar trip could be done in a mere 20 years. That's great, right? Not quite. Like I said, the photons transfer a tiny amount of momentum. The heavier the craft, the more momentum is needed to propel it. It's the reason why you will never see a news headline exclaiming that the International Space Station is hurtling into interstellar space, despite the fact that its two huge solar arrays provide a lot of surface area for the sunlight to hit. It's also why the Starshot probes are so small. They are designed to be only as large as a postage stamp. For the large interstellar vehicle you and your partner need to go to that restaurant, you can expect a really long wait to get to the velocities needed for a speedy interstellar trip. So that won't cut it either. You know what that means? Antimatter is basically, well, the polar opposite of matter. Protons have antiprotons, the electrons have positrons. You get the jig, I hope. Regular matter and antimatter do something unique when they come to contact with each other. Suppose you had a ball of regular matter and a ball of antimatter. If they touch, This annihilation effect can be a noticeably efficient way to power spacecraft. There are more efficient means of using antimatter and rocket propulsion, but we'll ignore these for simplicity and focus on antimatter propulsion in its purest form. You could funnel antimatter into a combustion chamber, and then introduce regular matter to it, causing annihilation. The energy and residue left over would bounce into the spacecraft itself, providing propulsion. Due to the dense amount of antimatter annihilation would provide, sources show that antimatter propulsion in its purest form could reach 94% the speed of light. This would shorten the trip to Proxima Centauri to just 4.5 years. Compared to the other methods of interstellar transit, this is the fastest yet. However, for a nice dinner, that is unfortunately not gonna cut it. There is one more method, one even more theoretical than the rest. If it is, in fact, scientific fact, we could achieve the impossible. We could travel faster than light. People commonly think space is a hard stage of sorts. Everything that could ever happen in the universe could happen, but you could still count on the stage being somewhat normal and predictable. But, due to the teachings of Albert Einstein, that is not the case. Space can warp. This phenomenon is the entire reason gravity exists. Bodies distort the fabric of space-time in a way that creates gravity wells, which can influence other bodies. But it could also be abused as a form of propulsion. A Mexican theoretical physicist named Miguel Alcubierre knew this, and he drafted one of the most famous concepts on an FTL, or faster-than-light vehicle. So here's the gist of it. Funny Tongue Man says nothing can be faster than light. But that's if you're playing fairly. You can cheat. And cheat Alcubierre did. He proposed a vehicle that would do things in 2 steps. Keep in mind I'm extremely oversimplifying this, so feel free to correct me on anything if you want. Firstly, the spaceship would shrink the space-time in front of it so that the destination is almost directly in front. Secondly, the ship would expand the space-time behind it so that its starting point is far away. This would create a sort of warp bubble. Inside the bubble, the ship would be practically stationary. However, outside the bubble, the ship could accelerate to stunning speeds. It's a bit like stepping onto a moving walkway at an airport. You're not actually moving on the walkway, but outside the walkway, you're whipping by the fools who think that moving walkways are a dumb idea. Which they are obviously not. Similarly, if the warp bubble moves faster than light, then the ship still isn't breaking Einstein's cosmic speed limit, because the ship itself isn't actually moving. It's just moving the space-time it's occupying. This means that this hypothetical Alcubierre drive could theoretically be as fast as the amount of space-time you can warp. The trip to Proxima Centauri could take as little as months, days, perhaps even hours. Unfortunately, if the Alcubierre drive sounds too good to be true, that's because it is. The drive relies on a substantially hypothetical type of matter called exotic matter in order to function, which may not exist at all. And besides, the trip to Proxima Centauri would still be a matter of days at its fastest. Which, for a dinner out with a significant other, would still not cut it. But, if the restaurant is worth it, and you must eat at a place that is outside the solar system, then it is the best bet you have. Thank you, Super Sigmas, for listening to my TED Talk. I will now go. Goodbye.